My wife banned me from Christmas dinner. Then I found a secret letter she hid from me. I was at the kitchen table when the text came in. It was from Emily. The light from my phone was the only bright thing in the room. Her message said, "Don't come to my family's Christmas this year. It's just better if you stay home." My heart stopped like someone had put a hand on it. I read it 3 times. We had gone to her family every year since we married. The tree at her parents' house smelled like pine and cookies. I looked up. Emily wasn't in the room. I called her name, my voice shaking, but only the fridge hummed back. My hands felt too big and too clumsy. I folded the text closed and reopened it like the words might change. They didn't. My mind jumped to the last time we'd been there, how her mother had watched me carve the turkey like I had failed a test. I remembered her father's small, cold smile. I remembered Emily's hand squeezing mine under the table like a quiet apology. Now the apology was gone. I thought of all the years I'd smiled, made jokes, and tried to fit in. The kitchen felt too small for the truth. I stood up and paced. The house creaked. I wanted to ask her why, to tell her I would not make drama, to insist I loved her family as much as she did. But the silence made the question heavy. I sat back down and watched the tiny blinking dot on my phone. I felt like someone had closed a door I hadn't seen. When Emily came back into the kitchen, she had a small suitcase. She moved like she was late for a show. I held on to the last cup of coffee and watched her actions like a stranger. I asked, "Why would you tell me not to go?" Her shoulders shrugged like the answer was small. "My family thinks you make holidays stressful. Let's avoid drama." Her voice was flat, like she had learned this line and now used it. I felt in my throat a small tightness that grew. We had never had real drama. Once her cousin said I had bad manners while tying a napkin, but I laughed it off. I tried to laugh now, but the sound stuck. Then I saw her packing gifts into the suitcase. She folded ribbons neatly, put tissue paper just so. None of the packages had tags with my handwriting. My name didn't appear on a single gift. Her hands moved like she had a plan. She kept a folder inside her head. The way she packed made my stomach drop. "Who are these for?" I asked. She didn't look at me. "For my family. They'll be glad I'm bringing them." Her eyes looked like glass, not warm. I want to say that holidays were about being together, not presents, but the words felt small. She zipped the suitcase and walked to the door. I wanted to stop her. My legs were heavy. She paused, put a hand on the doorknob, and said, "Don't make a scene, Michael." Then she left. The house felt colder, like the oven had been turned off. I touched a wrapped box she had left on the counter and felt a sudden, sharp ache. A soft ping came from Emily's tablet left on the couch. I almost didn't look, but curiosity was louder than caution. The screen lit up with family messages. Her family chat was loud and bright, with small triumphant emojis. "Good. Finally, he won't be there this year," someone wrote. "Emily deserves Christmas with real family," another message read. I stared at the words like they were stains. Then someone sent a cruel joke about me. I felt my cheeks burn with shame. I had seen smiles and heard laughs like the ones on that screen before at dinners. If the chat had been a secret stage, I had been the actor they whispered about. My hands shook as I read more messages. They used the word stress like a weapon. I had tried to be kind and to help during holidays. I had helped put up lights, bought the right wine, and once I made a silly toast about gratitude. Now those small acts were evidence against me. I closed the tablet slowly, as if the screen might bite. I felt foolish for not seeing the lines that had been drawn. My mind flew back to quiet moments when Emily looked uneasy at her family's jokes. I had thought she was nervous, not cruel. The chat made it clear she had been listening and waiting. I set the tablet down like something hot. My head felt hollow. I wanted to call the cousin who sent the message, to say I was sorry if I had done anything wrong, but the apology felt like salt thrown in a wound. I sat very still and watched the Christmas lights on the tree blur into lines. That night, I could not sleep. My mind went back to last Christmas like a movie I couldn't turn off. I remembered how her mother had corrected the way I carved the turkey, as if it were a math problem. She had taken a knife, cut neat slices, and shook her head in a way that said I had failed. Her father had made a small joke about the house values where I grew up, and the room had laughed like a bell. Emily had squeezed my fingers and whispered, "Ignore them." But the whisper was weak. I remembered walking out into the cold yard to breathe. I had stood under the bare oak tree and felt invisible. At the time, I told myself it would pass. Love would bridge those gaps. But the memory made something clench in me. I had tried too hard to fit into a picture that wasn't mine. I remembered Emily's eyes that night, not warm, full of apology I did not need. The memory hurt because I had given so much. I had always tried to be generous with gifts and time, thinking that would fix anything. Now the memory felt like a warning I ignored. I retraced our old funny stories, the times we had laughed until our stomachs hurt, and I tried to find where the grin had slipped away. I sat in the dark and let the past roll through me. The clock clicked. Outside, a car passed and the sound went on. I felt small, like a child who had been left out of a game. The thought that kept coming back was simple. I had not known the rules. When the house finally quieted, I wandered into Emily's study. I did not plan to look, but my feet seemed to know a map I did not. On her desk, behind a stack of envelopes, a soft cream-colored envelope peeked out. It said, in big letters, "Not for Michael." My heart did a strange flip. I stood for a long time and breathed shallow. Curiosity pulled at me like a thin thread. I told myself to leave it alone. I told myself it was private, hers. But the words "not for me" burned more than the idea of finding something I shouldn't. My hands were clumsy. I picked it up and felt the weight of paper that held other people's secrets. The envelope was sealed but not taped down. I slid a fingernail under the flap and breathed. Inside, a handwritten letter sat with a slant in ink that looked like it had cried. The first line read, "Emily, thank you for spending Christmas Eve with me again." I felt the floor drop out from under my feet. The letter was small and intimate, and it felt like a betrayal in ink. I could not read more at once. My hands trembled. I stood in the dim lamplight with the letter in my hands, and the tree lights behind me like tiny stars. A voice from somewhere in me whispered, "This is not what it looks like," but the paper smelled like someone else's closeness. I folded the letter back and smoothed it like a wound. Then I opened again, and the lines swam before my eyes. I had never felt so fragile and so furious at once. Hit subscribe for more true revenge stories. Emily came home just before sunset, the sky fading into soft blue above her. I waited for her in the living room with the letter folded in my hand. My breath fell heavy, like I had to lift it each time. I said her name, and she paused, annoyed before she even turned toward me. I held the letter up. "What is this?" My voice was small, but sharp. She rolled her eyes so slow it stung. "Michael, don't dig to my things. That's the real problem here." I stared at her, stunned. "The problem is this letter," I whispered. "You spent Christmas Eve with someone else?" She shrugged again, like brushing off dust. "It's not a big deal. You always overreact." I told him I couldn't do this forever. "You're reading too much." I felt heat rise in my face. I never said I wouldn't go to Christmas. You told everyone I didn't want to come. That's a lie. She grabbed her purse angrily. "I don't want to have this argument. Not now. I'm going out." I stepped forward. "Emily, this is serious," she snapped. "Stop being dramatic." Then she stormed out, the door slamming so loud it echoed inside my chest. I stood alone in the quiet, the letter shaking between my fingers. The lights on the tree flickered like they knew something had broken. I felt a cold, hollow space open inside me. Something was wrong, far worse than I first thought. Her car pulled out of the driveway, tires crunching against old frost. Then silence. The house felt too big when she was gone. I walked through each room slowly, like I was checking for ghosts. The kitchen smelled like leftover coffee. The living room held the soft glow of the tree we had decorated only a week ago. But now every ornament reminded me of something she had said to someone else. I sat on the couch and stared at the lights until they blurred. I tried to make sense of everything, but the pieces wouldn't fit. I wondered where she had gone. Errands, she had said, but the word felt false, thin, fake. Hours passed. I didn't move much. I listened to the hum of the house, the slight creak of settling wood. My mind circled around the same thoughts, like a trapped bird hitting the same window. I wanted her to walk back in and explain everything, to say the letter meant nothing, but hope felt foolish now. I rubbed my hand together and looked toward her desk. A small corner of a box stuck out from behind the leg of the table, barely visible. Something white peeked from behind it. An envelope, thinner than the first. My chest tightened. I stood up slowly and walked over. The envelope was tucked just enough to hide, but not enough to disappear. My fingers hovered over it. I didn't want to become the kind of man who searched his wife's secrets, but I already had. I reached down and pulled the envelope free. A small shiver ran through me, like I already knew what I'd find. The envelope was light, too light. My name wasn't on it. Only Emily's, written in looping handwriting I knew wasn't hers. I sat down on the edge of the couch, the envelope trembling between my fingers. My breath came slow, thick, not from Michael. That phrase echoed in my mind like a warning bell. I wondered if I should stop. I wondered if maybe opening another letter would destroy something inside me I couldn't fix. But lies were already destroying plenty. I slid my finger under the flap and opened it. Inside was a card. No holiday picture, no fancy border, just simple white and heavy ink strokes across the page. My heart thumped hard as I removed the folded paper. I hesitated before I opened it fully, like I was about to look at the sun too long. The first words were messy, rushed. Emily, Sunday was perfect. You always know how to make me feel seen. My stomach clenched. I read faster. I hate hiding. I hate pretending. I know it's hard lying to him, but it won't be forever. You deserve someone who understands you. The ink blurred as my eyes began to sting. I flipped the page to see the signature. It was smudged and short. Just one letter. A single crooked D. The shape was familiar, like I had seen it somewhere else. On a box, on a card, on something I had brushed past before. I stared at the letter D and felt a pulse of fear. My mind raced. Who was he? And why did his name ring a bell inside me? I sat there frozen with the letter in my hands. Anger and dread mixed like oil and water. The letter was older, maybe months old, the edges slightly bent. I set it down carefully, then stood and walked to her study. My heartbeat was loud in my ears. I opened drawers one by one. Stationery, pens, old bills, makeup bags, nothing. I almost gave up until I saw her old phone in the back of the desk drawer. Emily had replaced it last year. It wasn't locked. She'd always trusted me too much because she thought I'd never question her. I turned it on. The screen lit slowly. Everything felt heavy, like the air had thickened. I opened messages. Deleted ones appeared faintly, like ghosts still trapped inside the phone's memory. I scrolled and my stomach dropped. Romantic messages. Dozens. Some new, some old. Some matching nights, she had said. I have to stay late at work. Some matching weekends. She said she was with her sister. Messages at midnight. Comments about kisses. Notes about next time. My throat tightened. I clicked on a contact name. It glowed on the screen like a warning. Daniel. My hand went cold. I opened the message history. Weeks of conversations, each one like a cut. I miss you. Can't wait. He won't know. My breath hitched. My knees felt weak. I sat down in her chair, gripping the phone like it was burning. I had heard her mention a Daniel once in passing. A friend from long ago. But this was not friendship. This was something built over years. Something she hid behind smiles and excuses. The room spun a little. I whispered into the quiet. How long has this been happening? The phone didn't answer. The truth was already louder than my voice. I clicked deeper through her messages, my finger moving even when I didn't want it to. I checked her calendar next. Events filled the screen, synced from her other devices. D, dinner. D, wine night. D, hotel. My chest tightened. Every December had marks connected to him. 3 years of secret Decembers. Then I saw it. D, tradition. Christmas Eve. Every year. I felt sick. I opened her social media photos. There were smiling pictures of her with her family on nights she was never actually there. Photos at restaurants she had said she hated. She had lied so easily. I stared at the screen, at her face lit by candlelight beside the man I assumed was Daniel. Cropped, of course, hidden well, but the clues were there. I closed the photos fast. My stomach twisted. I needed someone to tell me it wasn't real. I messaged Julia, her closest friend. "Is everything okay?" She wrote back quickly. "Why aren't you going to Christmas?" My heart cracked. I didn't say that. I typed. Emily did. Julia paused. Then she sent a voice note. Her voice shook. "Michael, there are things you don't know. Emily hasn't been honest. I'm so sorry." My hands trembled. "Please, I typed, tell me." She wrote back. "I can't say much, but they always thought you weren't good enough. They push her towards someone else." I pressed the phone to my chest. My eyes burned. I felt something inside me shift, hurt turning into something harder. I whispered, "Who is he?" But I already knew. I didn't sleep that night. My mind kept circling that single letter, D. It felt like a shadow crawling across every memory I had with Emily. By morning, my eyes were raw, but I forced myself to search again. I opened her closet and checked the small drawers built into the side. Inside the lowest one was a thin wooden box I had never seen before. My heart pounded as I slid it open. Inside were old notes tied with ribbon. My hands shook as I untied it. The first note was dated nearly a year and a half ago. "Emily, you make every December brighter," it said. "I wish we didn't have to hide. One day we won't." My breath caught. Then I reached for the next. "I love how you look at me when you say you're leaving his place." That line stung like a blade. I read another. "You're the only one who understands me." Each note cut something inside me until I felt hollow. At the bottom of the bundle was a final message signed simply D. The letter looked like the same one from her old phone messages. Seeing the signature there, bold and confident, made everything real. I sat on the floor staring at the notes spread out like broken glass. Every December, every secret, every lie. I whispered, "How long have I been the outsider in my own marriage?" The room didn't answer. Only the weight of the notes told the truth. I knew then that this wasn't something new. It was a pattern, one she never planned on ending. I powered her old phone back on, my fingers cold even though the house was warm. I needed to see everything now, every hidden corner she'd left behind. In the message thread, I scrolled up further than before. More deleted messages appeared. "Meet me after work? I miss the way you laugh with me. Don't worry, he'll believe whatever you tell him." Each line felt like someone pressing on a bruise. My chest ached. Then I saw something that made my pulse jump. Photos. Not many, just 2. Both taken in a car. Emily smiling in the passenger seat. A man's hand resting on her knee. I zoomed in. The wristwatch looked familiar. I had seen it at her family dinners. The same brand her cousin's friend used to brag about. The same style Daniel wore when he visited once. My throat tightened. I opened the contact info for Daniel. The last call between them was 2 days ago at 12:47 a.m., when she had told me she was too tired to talk. My stomach twisted. I checked voicemail next. Nothing. Then I searched her notes app. One note had been deleted, but the auto backup screen still showed the title. Christmas Plan. My breath stopped. I clicked it, but the content was gone. Only the title remained like a taunt. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the phone like it might explain itself. I felt weak and furious at the same time. Every message proved this wasn't a mistake. This was a secret life, a long one, and she thought I'd never see it. I kept scrolling until my eyes blurred, but I forced myself to stay with it. I needed the truth, even if it hurt. When I reopened the contact list, the name Daniel stood out like it was lit. I clicked the call log. Calls almost every day. Calls during lunch breaks. Calls on weekends. She said she was helping her sister move. Calls during holidays when she told me she was shopping for gifts. My hands clenched the phone so tight my knuckles turned white. I checked the message thread again, this time looking for details. Can't wait to see you Friday. Wish I could wake up next to you. He doesn't notice anything. That line hurt most. I had noticed, just not the right things. Her distance, her tired excuses, her sudden need for me time. I thought she needed space to grieve her father. Now I knew better. I opened her email next. In the trash folder lay an old message with the subject, Our Night. My stomach twisted as I opened it. It was short. Last night was perfect. I still feel you close. A reply came minutes later. Me too. Christmas soon. I dropped the phone onto the desk and put my face in my hands. I felt like the room was shrinking around me. I had tried to be a good husband. I had spent years giving everything I could, but none of it mattered because she had been giving herself to someone else. And her family, her whole family, had been waiting for me to disappear. My hands were still shaking when I opened her digital calendar again. I needed facts, not feelings. The screen filled with neat color blocks, all organized, all hiding the truth. I scrolled back through the past years. D, dinner. D, wine. D, hotel. The word hotel hit me like I had run into a wall. And then I saw the address attached. A small and outside town. The same place she once said she wanted us to go someday. My jaw tightened. She had gone, just not with me. I kept scrolling. D, movie night. D, drive. D, your favorite place. The repetition made my skin crawl. Then I reached last December. Christmas Eve. D, tradition. My throat tightened. Every year on Christmas Eve, she had found a reason to be late arriving at her parents' house. She always said traffic. Or errands. I believed her every time. Pain pooled in my chest as I clicked this year's December. A meeting set for the next day. D. Christmas plan. No details. Just that single line. My heart thumped hard. I looked around the room like someone might help me understand. But the truth was clear. She had a Christmas tradition with him. Not me. I laughed once. A sharp broken sound. The kind that didn't feel right. I wasn't losing my mind. I was losing my marriage. She had already given away long before I found the notes. I opened her social media again, anger buzzing in my fingertips. I scrolled to a photo from 2 months ago. She was smiling beside her cousin at a fall event. She told me that day she was sick and needed to stay home. I zoomed in. The reflection in her glasses showed someone beside the camera, a man in a dark jacket. My stomach tightened. I checked the comments. Her mother had written, "You look so happy, sweetheart." Happy? Yes, because she wasn't with me. I kept digging. A picture from spring showed her holding a drink on a rooftop. But that same night, she told me she was stuck late at work. I remembered heating leftovers for myself that night. Now I zoomed in again. A familiar wristwatch. The same one Daniel wore. I clicked her tag locations. Restaurants, she said, were too fancy for us. Places, she said, made her uncomfortable. Yet she smiled wide in each photo. My breath caught as I realized every lie had been rehearsed. She had built a whole story for me, one that kept me busy, calm, and looking the other way. My phone buzzed with a notification. A cousin of hers had posted something cheerful. I opened it. There was Emily in the background, laughing. The date matched the night. She said she was comforting her sister through a breakup. Anger rose like a wave. Not loud, slow and steady. I looked at the screen again. Happy to have our girl with us. The caption read, "Their girl, not mine, not for a long time." I closed the app, breathing slow. I felt something new inside me now, cold, steady, and ready to confront the truth. I sat with the phone in my hand, staring at Julia's message. Her words felt heavy, like they carried more truth than she wanted to say. I typed, "Please, I need to know." For a long moment, the dots blinked like she was fighting herself. Then a voice note arrived. I pressed play with my stomach tight. Julia's voice came through low and shaky. "Michael, I shouldn't say this, but you deserve honesty. Emily hasn't been faithful for a long time. I tried to talk her out of it. She said you were too simple, too soft, and her family said she married beneath them. The words hit like cold water. She continued. They liked Daniel, said he fit their family better. They encouraged things, told her to keep her options open. I hated it, but she wouldn't listen. My breath became sharp. Julia sniffed. Please don't tell her I said this. I can't get in the middle again. The note ended. I sat frozen. My heart didn't just hurt, it felt erased. I replayed the message twice, trying to steady myself. So it wasn't just Emily. Her entire family knew. They watched me smile at dinners. They watched me try to belong. They even joked with me, knowing full well what she was doing. My hands trembled as I set the phone down. This wasn't an accident. It was a whole plan. I whispered into the empty room. What did I ever do to any of you? The silence felt like their answer. The house was quiet, but my thoughts were loud. I opened Julia's message again, this time reading every word slowly. Her family approves of him more than you. The sentence gnawed at me. I felt shame, confusion, anger, all rushing together. I paced the living room, passing the tree again and again like it was judging me. Finally, I called Julia. She didn't answer at first. Then the phone buzzed. I shouldn't talk, she whispered. Emily will hate me if she finds out. Julia, please, I said, my voice cracking. I need to know what I'm dealing with. There was a long pause. She said Daniel understood her better, that he made her feel seen. She said you were too boring, too normal, too safe. The last word stung. I tried to warn her, Julia said. I told her she was throwing away a good man, but her family kept pushing. They said you weren't their type. They said Daniel had better connections, better future, better everything. My jaw tightened. Did she ever plan to tell me? Another long pause. Honestly? No. They thought you'd just fade out quietly, that you'd stop trying. Her parents wanted Daniel in the picture. They'd been talking about him since last year. I felt the room sway. I'm sorry, Julia whispered. I didn't know it would go this far. I thanked her and hung up. The truth was clear now. Every lie had been supported, fed, protected. It wasn't a affair in secret. It was an affair with cheerleaders. I sat down at the table, hands gripping the chair as the pieces clicked together. Her parents had never liked me. I knew that, but I never imagined they would help her cheat. I replayed old moments. Her father's cold stares, her mother's forced smiles, the jokes about my job, the looks they traded when I spoke. I thought it was simple snobbery, but now I saw it as something darker. I opened the group chat on the tablet again. Messages I missed now appeared clearer. Emily, you deserve someone who matches your level. Daniel is so sweet. He fits in with us. Don't feel guilty. You're following your heart. Then another message. Christmas will be easier without him. My chest burned. They didn't just accept the affair. They celebrated it. They planned around it, encouraged it, protected it. And Emily let them. I remember last Christmas when her father insisted Daniel join, just for a quick hello. I thought it was harmless. Now I saw the looks they exchanged, the same looks I ignored. Rage simmered in me, slow and steady. Not wild, controlled. I picked up the tablet and scrolled more. Her mother wrote, when will she finally choose? Her sister replied, after Christmas. Daniel said he's ready. Choose. Ready? The words made my fingertips go numb. They weren't waiting for a divorce. They were waiting for me to vanish, quietly, politely, the way they thought I would. I whispered, you all think you can push me aside. The anger inside me sharpened. Not this time. That night, I could barely breathe as I walked back into our bedroom. The air felt tight, like it held the truth with it. I opened her scarf drawer, not even sure why. Maybe I thought I had seen enough. Maybe I didn't want more pain. But something told me there was one last piece. A small envelope lay tucked beneath her winter scarves. My heartbeat kicked hard again. I pulled it out. The handwriting was the same, slanted, rushed, too familiar now. I opened it. Emily, it began, I'll ask you again on Christmas Day. I want us to start fresh. He'll be gone. We'll finally be together. My breath froze. Gone. Like I was a problem someone planned to move aside. The letter continued. Your family understands. They know we're better together. Don't be scared. Soon everything will fall into place. I dropped the letter. My fingers tingled. My vision blurred for a moment. Daniel wasn't just an affair. He was planning a future with her, one her family wanted. And Christmas Day was a deadline. Our holiday. The holiday her family told me to skip. They weren't just pushing me away. They were clearing the path for him. I leaned on the dresser, swallowing hard. I felt numb. All those years. All that love. And meanwhile, they planned this behind my back like a secret play. My chest hurt, but inside, that pain was something else forming. Something cold. Something sharp. Something ready. I whispered, no more. This time, I meant it. I stood in the living room staring at the tree we built together. The ornaments we bought on our first date. The star we argued about but chose anyway. None of it felt real anymore. I held the 3 letters in my hands. Proof of everything. Proof of the lies. Proof of the plan. Proof that Christmas wasn't about family for her. It was about him. I sank into the couch and let the betrayal wash over me. I cried once, quietly, because something inside me was breaking open. But the tears stopped fast. The pain shifted, hardened, turned into something steady. Something clear. They wanted Christmas without me? Fine, but not in silence. Not in shame. Not with me fading away like they expected. I stood up slowly, gripping the letters tight. I knew what I had to do. I grabbed my phone and dialed the one person who would know exactly what steps came next. David, I said when he answered, I need your help. And I need it now. His voice sharpened. Tell me everything. I did. Every detail. When I finished, he said, you're going to need documentation and witnesses and a plan. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. I'm ready. Good, he said, because this won't be simple, but it will be clean. When I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in days, control. I whispered to myself as I picked up the letters. You want Christmas without me? Fine, but I'm showing up anyway. And the cold, calm truth settled in my chest. This time, I wasn't going to be quiet. I didn't sleep much after calling David. My mind kept replaying every moment of the last few days, every lie Emily told, every secret message I uncovered. But for the first time, the pain wasn't fogging my thoughts. It was sharpening them. In the morning light, I gathered the letters, Emily's old phone, screenshots I saved, and notes I wrote down. Then I called David again. Before we moved forward, he said, send me all evidence, every photo, every message, even things that seemed small. I spent the next hour sending everything. Each upload made my chest tighten, but it also made me feel stronger. This wasn't guessing anymore. It was proof. When we spoke again, his tone was different, more serious. Michael, you're dealing with a coordinated emotional and marital breach, and deception spanning years. You need records, copies, timelines, and you'll need someone neutral to verify. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. I'll do whatever it takes. He paused. You're handling this better than most people would. I wasn't sure if that was true. I felt like I was barely standing. You need witnesses, he continued. People who know your character. People who can speak to your behavior. I thought for a moment. Names came easily. People who would see me try, year after year. I can handle that, I said. Good, he replied. And one more thing. We need someone connected to Daniel. Someone who has just as much to lose. I already knew who that was. I whispered the name. David inhaled sharply. That, he said, might just balance the scales. It was late when I met David at his office. The hallway lights were dim, but his door glowed bright like he had been waiting for me. He motioned for me to sit. Stacks of folders sat open on his desk. My documents mixed in. This is bigger than simple infidelity, he said as he flipped to one of the letters. Emily deceived you, involved her family, and engaged in a pattern of emotional manipulation. His voice was steady. And Daniel, clearly intended to push you out. Hearing it from someone else made everything sharper. What now? I asked. Now, he said, we prepare. He explained property rights, financial accounts, shared assets, what I could protect, what I might lose. But then he leaned back. You also need to reveal the truth, but not in anger, not in chaos. You need control, calm, public clarity. I frowned. Public. Yes, he said, because Emily's family helped cover for her, and they need to hear the truth the same way they spread the lies. He tapped the folder. But you must do it legally, professionally. No yelling, no threats, just facts. The idea scared me and steadied me. Can I really do that? With preparation, he said, and the right backup. He slid another folder across the table. This outlines what happens when you serve separation papers. And here, he pointed to a section, is how your guests will come into play. I breathed out slowly. This won't just be painful for Emily, he said quietly. It will be devastating. I closed the folder gently. Good, I said. When I left David's office, the night air felt colder but clearer. I sat in my car gripping the steering wheel and repeated the same name, Rachel, Daniel's wife, the woman who had no idea what her husband had been doing with mine. I remembered meeting her once at a neighborhood event. Quiet, polite, thoughtful. She had smiled at Emily like they were old friends. My stomach churned. They had shared holidays, secrets, and lies. I found Rachel's number easily. Daniel had left a text thread open on Emily's old phone, and her contact was attached to one of the group messages. I hesitated. Then I hit call. She answered on the third ring. Hello. Her voice sounded tired. Rachel, I said softly, this is Michael, Emily's husband. There's a long, careful pause. Is everything okay? No, I said honestly. And I think you already know something is wrong. She exhaled shakily. I've suspected, but I didn't have proof. I do, I said, and I think you deserve to see it. Silence stretched for a moment. Then she whispered, tell me when and where. I told her. Christmas Day. Her breath caught. He told me he was working that day. He told Emily he'd be with her. I replied. The silence trembled. I'll come, she said. Her voice sharpened. I want the truth. All of it. We hung up, and I leaned back in my seat. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from certainty. Rachel wasn't just a witness. She was ground zero for Daniel's lies. And on Christmas, everything would break open. Christmas morning arrived cold and bright, the sky pale with winter light. I dressed slowly, carefully, not in anything fancy, just a clean shirt, dark jacket, and the calm I had built over the last days. I packed a folder with the letters, screenshots, copies of the messages, everything labeled and in order just like David told me. I placed the folder in a simple black bag. No drama, no rush, just truth. At 9:15, I heard a soft knock on the door. When I opened it, Rachel stood there in a long coat, gloves on, face pale but steady. She clutched her own folder. You ready? She asked softly. I nodded. Are you? Her jaw tightened. I have been waiting for this for longer than you know. We walked to my car. The cold air stung my lungs, but it kept me focused. When we drove off, she broke the silence. How long? I swallowed. 3 years, maybe more. Rachel closed her eyes. I thought he was distant because of work. I thought we'd fix it. She shook her head slowly. I didn't know it was her. I didn't know it was him. I said, our hurt sat between us like a fragile thing. After a few minutes, she straightened. But today isn't about pain, she said. It's about truth. I nodded. The road stretched ahead, dusted with snow. I gripped the wheel gently and whispered, let's finish this. When we reached the house, people moved behind the windows already. Emily's family, the ones who banned me. I parked. Rachel stepped out first. Then I followed. Together, we walked toward the front porch. The moment Rachel and I stepped onto the snowy porch, the noise inside fell quiet. Through the window, I saw faces turning, confusion spreading. Emily opened the door fast, panic flashing in her eyes like she'd seen a ghost. Michael, what are you doing here? She whispered harshly. You weren't invited. I met her gaze calmly. I know. Then Rachel stepped forward. Emily's whole body stiffened. The color drained from her face, so fast it looked unreal. Rachel's voice was steady and cold. We need to talk. Behind Emily, her family gathered, whispering. Her mother's jaw dropped. Her father stepped forward like he wanted to block the doorway. Emily tried to force a smile that trembled. Rachel, what are you doing here? Finding out, Rachel said, why my husband has been spending Christmas Eve with you. A gasp ran through the room. I didn't look away from Emily. You said I made holidays stressful. I said quietly. But the truth is, you didn't want me here because today was part of your plan with him. Her breath hitched. Stop, she whispered. Not here. Here, I said, stepping inside, is exactly where this belongs. Behind me, Rachel entered too. Emily's father started to speak, but Rachel cut him off sharply. Not one word. The room filled with tension, so thick it felt like the walls tightened. I reached into my bag and pulled out the first letter. I held it out toward Emily. Let's start with this, I said. Since you wanted a Christmas without me, let's show everyone why. And the room fell silent as the truth began to unfold. The room shifted like the ground moved beneath everyone's feet. Emily backed up as Rachel stepped fully inside, her presence sharp and controlled. Where is he? Rachel asked, scanning the room. Her voice didn't shake. A few relatives glanced toward the hallway. Emily's mother whispered, Daniel left early. He said he wasn't feeling well. Rachel let out a bitter laugh. Not feeling well, or not want to face the truth? Emily swallowed hard, her eyes darting between me and Rachel like she was trapped. Her father stepped closer to Emily. I don't understand what's happening here, he said stiffly. Why are you dragging this nonsense into our Christmas? Rachel turned to him slowly. Nonsense, she repeated. Your daughter has been having an affair with my husband for 3 years. And you helped her. Gasps rippled through the room. Someone whispered, Oh my God. Emily tried to speak, but her voice broke. Rachel, please, we shouldn't do this here. Then where? Rachel demanded. How many Christmases should I ignore his lies? I stood beside her quietly. Calm, steady, not the outsider anymore. The truth was finally here. Emily's sister edged forward. Emily, is this true? Emily trembled. Her family stared at her, their perfect daughter. Rachel lifted her chin. We came because you all pushed Michael out, called him a problem, while letting this happen under your roof. Her words landed like strikes. Emily's father's face reddened. Enough. No, Rachel said sharply. The truth doesn't get to be silenced today. And before anyone answered, I opened the folder. I held the first letter open in my hand. The same one that said Emily spent Christmas Eve with Daniel again. Emily reached toward me in panic. Michael, don't, she pleaded. Please. I stepped back from her touch. You told your family I didn't want to come to Christmas, that I made holidays stressful. But this, I lifted the letter higher. This is the real reason. I handed it to her sister, Megan, who snatched it with trembling fingers. Everyone leaned closer. Megan's eyes skimmed the page, widening with every line. Emily, this says you were with him on Christmas Eve, last year, and the year before. The room gasped again. Her mother put a hand to her chest. Emily whispered, Give me that, but her sister pulled away. Megan kept reading aloud in a shaking voice. I know it's hard lying to him. She stopped mid-sentence and looked up at Emily with horror. You lied to him about Christmas? About everything. Emily's face crumpled. Tears gathered, but they looked like desperation, not regret. I stood still, letting the truth fill the room. Emily's father glared at me. You had no right to bring this here. Rachel stepped beside me. And your daughter had no right to take my husband into your home. She looked around at all of them. Everyone deserves the truth. For a moment, no one spoke. The weight of the words pressed into the family, like a storm settling over the room. Emily whispered, Michael, please. But for the first time, I didn't feel small. I felt seen. I pulled out the second letter, the older one, the one tied with a ribbon. Emily lunged toward me again, panic rising. Stop, please. But Rachel stepped in front of her. No more hiding. I unfolded the letter and read the first line aloud. Emily, Sunday was perfect. You always know how to make me feel seen. A sharp breath sounded from somewhere in the back. Her aunt covered her mouth. I read on. I hate pretending. I hate hiding. One day we won't. Emily sobbed, shaking her head. Michael, please don't read this. I already did. I said calmly. Every word. I handed the letter to Rachel. She scanned it quickly, her expression stiff, jaw tight. This is his handwriting, she whispered. Every loop, every curve. He wrote me letters like this when we were dating. She held the page up. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a mistake. This was intentional. Emily's mother looked pale. Emily, what have you done? Emily shook her head rapidly, her hair sticking to her face. It wasn't like that. We were confused. It didn't mean. Megan cut her off. Years, Emily. Not days. Not months. Years. I placed my hand on the back of the chair to steady myself. Emily looked at me through her tears, reaching out as if touching me would erase everything. Michael, I'm sorry. Please. But I stepped back. Her hand dropped. All the lies she built around us crumbled in front of her family, the people she feared disappointing. But today, it wasn't me disappointing them. It was her. I reached into my bag again and pulled out the printed screenshots of Emily's calendar. Neat columns, bright color-coded blocks, lies arranged like appointments. I clicked the remote on their living room TV, the one I had helped install last year, and projected the images across the screen. Text filled the room. D, dinner. D, hotel. D, wine. Her father squinted. What is this? Her calendar, I said simply. Sync across all devices. Then I clicked to the next screen. D, tradition. Christmas Eve. The room erupted. Her mother gasped loud enough to echo. A cousin whispered, Oh my God, every year? Emily covered her face with both hands, crying now. Loud, messy, real or not, I couldn't tell. Her father stepped toward the screen, pointing. You were with him on Christmas Eve? Every Christmas Eve. Emily sobbed into her hands. Dad, I can explain. Explain, he barked. You told us he pointed at me, refused to come. I stood quietly, letting her lies answer for themselves. I clicked again. More entries. More proof. Some relatives turned away, embarrassed. Others stared at Emily like they didn't recognize her. She marked these as work nights, I said, but they were dates. Some at hotels. Some at restaurants, she said she hated with me. Emily shook her head violently. Stop. Please stop. I shrugged gently. I'm only showing the truth. She covered her mouth, sobbing harder. Her father slumped in his chair. And for the first time since I married into this family, they all finally saw me, not as the outsider, but as the one who had been wronged. I reached into the bag once more and held up my phone. There's something else you all need to hear. Emily's eyes widened in panic. No. Michael, no. I ignored her and tapped the play button. Julia's shaky voice filled the room through the speakers. Emily hasn't been honest. She's been seeing someone from her past. Someone her family approves of more than Michael. They always thought he wasn't good enough. Gasps scattered across the room. Emily's mother whispered, Julia? I continued the recording. Her parents wanted her with Daniel. They encouraged the affair. They told her to keep her options open. I'm sorry, Michael. You deserve the truth. I let the last line echo in the stunned silence. Emily collapsed into a chair, shaking. She wasn't supposed to tell him, she muttered. Her father turned toward his wife with shock. We encourage this, he said, his voice trembling. Her mother covered her face. I never thought it would go this far. Rachel stepped forward, voice steady. You all knew about my husband. You let him walk into this home, sit at your table, smile at me, while he was loving your daughter behind my back. Emily's sister stared at her parents, disgust clear on her face. How could you do this? Emily looked up at me through tears. Please, please stop. I shook my head gently. Emily, lying stops today. Her sobs grew louder. Her mother touched her shoulder, but didn't defend her. No one did. The truth wasn't hidden anymore. It filled every corner of that house. And it was only the beginning. I reached into the folder again and pulled out a printed screenshot, one I saved for this exact moment. Emily's mother looked uneasy even before she saw it. There's more, I said quietly. Emily shook her head violently. Michael, please don't. But her begging only confirmed the truth. I turned the page around so the entire room could see. It was a message thread between Emily and her mother. I didn't have to read it aloud. The words were big and bold at the top. Keep your options open, sweetheart. Daniel is better for your future. The room froze. A cousin gasped. Someone whispered. She pushed her toward him. Rachel stepped forward, her voice cutting across the air. So you all helped her cheat? You helped my husband betray me? And you blame Michael for everything. Emily's mother began to cry softly. I was trying to protect her by destroying her marriage? Rachel snapped. Emily's father looked horrified. His voice cracked. You told me Michael wanted to skip holidays. You told me he made you unhappy. Emily sobbed. I didn't want to hurt anyone. You hurt everyone, Megan said, stepping back as if Emily were toxic. And you let Mom and Dad help you lie. I looked at her parents. You judged me for years while you hid the truth. Emily dropped her face into her hands, shoulders shaking. No one comforted her, not even her own family. For the first time, they finally saw who she really was. And silence became the loudest judgment in the room. Rachel stepped toward the center of the room, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. She didn't tremble. She didn't hesitate. She placed something on the coffee table, a small, simple wedding ring. The room went dead silent. This, she said coldly, is the ring Daniel placed on my finger 12 years ago. The same ring he wore proudly while sneaking around with your daughter. Emily stared at it like it might burn her. Rachel looked directly at Emily's parents. You welcomed him, praised him, helped him cheat. You let him bring gifts to your home while lying to me. Her voice cracked only once. You let my husband build a second life in your living room. Emily's father rubbed his temples, shaking his head. We didn't think it would go so far. It always goes far, Rachel said. Affairs don't stay quiet. They grow. They rot everything they touch. She turned to Emily. He told me he was working today. He told you he'd be with you. He told both of us lies. Emily's sobs filled the room, but Rachel didn't look away. I'm done being the fool. She slid Daniel's ring across the table, the metal clinking loudly. He doesn't deserve a wife. And you don't deserve a husband you cheated on for years. She took a sharp breath. But today you get consequences, not secrets. The family stared at the ring, the symbol of a life Daniel tossed aside. And one by one, their faces fell as the weight of what they helped hide settled over them like heavy snow. The room felt frozen as I pulled out the last envelope, the one from her scarf drawer. Emily shook her head wildly. No, please, not that one. I unfolded it slowly, letting the tension thicken. Then I read aloud, I'll ask you again on Christmas Day. He'll be gone. We'll finally be together. Her mother covered her mouth with both hands. Emily collapsed to her knees. Stop it, she cried. Please stop. I'm begging you. I continued reading. Your family understands. They know we're right. Don't be scared. Soon everything will fall into place. I lowered the paper. The room erupted all at once. Emily, you told us he was just a friend, her sister shouted. You let us meet him. We defended you, a cousin yelled. Emily curled in on herself, sobbing so hard her shoulders shook. Rachel stepped forward and took the letter from my hand. I'll need this for the divorce, she said, her voice steady. Emily looked up at her, tears streaming. Rachel, please. I didn't want to ruin your life. You did anyway, Rachel said. No softness, no forgiveness, just truth. Emily looked at me next. Her voice broke. Michael, I made mistakes. I was confused. For 3 years, I asked quietly. She had no answer. I handed the last letter to Rachel. This time, Emily didn't reach for it. She knew it was over, and everyone in the room knew it too. There was nothing left to hide. Just then, the front door opened again. Everyone turned. David walked in, dressed neatly, holding a thick envelope. Emily's face twisted in confusion. Why is he here? Because David said calmly, I handle things legally, professionally, and today is a legal matter. Emily's father stepped forward. This is a family gathering. You can't just actually, David said. I can. He turned to me. Michael? I nodded once. He opened the envelope and began pulling out documents. Emily Woods, he said clearly, you are being served with official separation papers on the grounds of prolonged infidelity, emotional manipulation, and marital deception. Emily screamed, N.O. Like the word could stop the world. It didn't. She grabbed the papers, hands shaking, eyes wild. You're divorcing me? Here? Today? You banned me from Christmas. I said quietly. You lied about me. You hit another man. You planned a future without me. I stepped back. This is simply honesty. Emily shook her head, so fast her hair tangled. Michael, please, we can fix this. Rachel stepped forward again. Daniel Harrison, she said coldly, is also being served. She handed another envelope to Emily's father. Give this to him. He'll know exactly what it means. Emily stared at both envelopes, sobbing. 2 marriages ending at once. 2 truths laid bare. For a moment, no one breathed. Then David closed his folder neatly. Merry Christmas, he said softly. The truth is finally out. The room felt like a storm had passed through it. Quiet, heavy, shaken. Emily sat on the floor clutching the papers, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Her family didn't rush to her. They didn't defend her. They didn't argue with me. They just stared. Stunned by the truth they tried so hard to hide. I stepped toward the doorway. Every step felt lighter than the last. Emily lifted her head, reaching for me desperately. Michael, please don't leave. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I still love you. I paused just long enough to look into her eyes that had lied to me, used me, betrayed me. You banned me from Christmas, I said softly, but I deserve the truth. She cried harder, scrambling toward me on her knees like the floor was crumbling under her. Michael, please, don't leave me. I shook my head. You left me a long time ago, Emily. Her parents watched, hollow and ashamed. Rachel joined me by the door, quiet but strong. She murmured, Are you ready? I nodded. I turned back one last time and said, I hope you find what you were looking for, but it will never be me again. Emily screamed my name as I stepped outside into the cold air, slamming her fist against the hardwood floor. The door shut behind me, muffling her cries. Snow crunched under my shoes. My breath came out in a cloud. It was done, and for the first time in years, I felt free. When I got home, the silence met me like a warm blanket instead of an empty space. I sat on the couch and finally let the weight of everything hit me. My hands shook. My chest felt tight. For the first time since the nightmare began, I allowed myself to break. I lowered my head into my palms and cried. Real, shaking cries that came from somewhere deep. I didn't hear the knock at first. Another knock followed, firmer. I wiped my face and opened the door. It was Jason, my closest friend since college. He held a grocery bag filled with takeout and a thermos of hot cider. I saw your car, he said softly. Thought you might need company. I stepped aside wordlessly. He sat beside me without asking questions, placing the food on the table. Heard what happened, he finally said. People talk. I'm sorry, man. You didn't deserve any of it. I stared at the floor. I feel stupid. I whispered. I didn't see it. I trusted her with everything. Jason shook his head. You trusted her because you loved her. She broke that trust. That's on her. His voice was warm, grounding. I hadn't realized how much I needed someone to anchor me. I leaned back into the couch, and Jason patted my shoulder. You're not alone, he said gently. For the first time in days, I believed it. I let out a long breath. Maybe this was a first step toward healing, even if it hurt to take it. The next morning, my phone lit up with message after message. Emily. Long, frantic paragraphs. I'm sorry. Please talk to me. We can fix this. I didn't reply. More messages followed. From her mother, her sister, cousins. Apologies. Explanations. Weak excuses. Words like shock, mistake, forgive, and even family. I let them all sit unread. By noon, Emily sent a voice message. I didn't listen. I didn't need to. The truth had already spoken for her. Jason sat across from me, sipping coffee. You don't owe them anything, he said. Not an answer. Not your piece. Not one more piece of yourself. I nodded. He was right. Then my phone buzzed again. A new number. I opened it. Rachel. Thank you, her message began. You showed me what I refused to see. I'm scared, but I'm relieved too. She said she had filed the divorce papers and moved in with her sister. Then she wrote something that softened my chest. You and I both deserve better than lies. Let's rebuild our lives, separately, but with someone who understands what the truth costs. I exhaled slowly. It felt like a release. Rachel wasn't reaching out romantically. She was reaching out as someone walking through the same fire. I typed back, thank you. We'll get through this. One step at a time. My phone went silent. For the first time, the silence felt hopeful. Rachel and I met for coffee 2 days later at a small cafe downtown. Not as partners. Not as anything more than two people who lost everything the same way. She looked tired, but there was a calm strength in her eyes. How are you holding up? She asked. I chuckled weakly. Depends on the hour. She nodded. Same. We talked for a long time about the lies, the anger, and the strange freedom that came afterward. I told her about the letters. She told me about Daniel's excuses over the years. I kept blaming myself, she said, stirring her tea. Thought I wasn't enough. Thought he was just stress. I did that too. I admitted. I thought I wasn't the kind of husband she was proud of. Rachel sighed. People like them, they take good hearts and twist them. I let her words sink in. They felt true. She reached across the table and rested her hand briefly over mine. You're a good man, Michael. Don't let what she did make you forget that. I swallowed hard. You too. For the first time since Christmas, I laughed. Really laughed. When Rachel told a story about smashing Daniel's fancy coffee machine on her way out, the cafe felt warm. Safe. Not romantic. Not confusing. Just two people healing. When we said goodbye, she squeezed my hand gently. We'll be okay, she said. And for once, I believed it. The year passed slowly but steadily. My house felt different, lighter, clearer, like someone had opened the windows after a long storm. I rebuilt myself in small ways. New routines. New friends. Old hobbies I'd forgotten. When December came again, I didn't feel dread. I felt something like peace. So I decided to create something new, a Christmas gathering of my own, not with people who judge me, not with people who use me, with people I chose. Jason arrived first with homemade cookies. So Bert, we both laughed. 2 co-workers brought cider and board games. Rachel sent a small plant with a card. For your new beginning. I placed it by the window. We decorated the tree, played music, and filled the house with laughter so real it almost startled me. For the first time in years, I wasn't pretending to fit in. I wasn't fighting to be accepted. I wasn't walking on eggshells. This was mine, my home, my joy, my holiday. Near the end of the night, Jason handed me a gift. Small, wrapped in silver paper. I opened it slowly. Inside was a simple keychain engraved with one word, forward. My throat tightened. It's time, Jason said. I nodded. Yeah. I whispered, it is. The tree lights glowed softly. The room felt full, real, warm, and I finally understood what Christmas was supposed to feel like. I stood by the lit tree that night after everyone left, the house quiet again, but not empty. I held the keychain in my hand, rolling the smooth metal between my fingers. The last year flashed through my mind. The lies, the betrayal, the anger, the truth exploding in that living room like a dropped match. But then the healing, the support, the quiet nights rebuilding myself, the new traditions I never expected to create. I looked around my home, feeling the peace settle deep inside me. I didn't need Emily. I didn't need her family. I didn't need their approval or their cold smiles. I had survived a kind of heartbreak designed to break a person in half. But I stood taller now, stronger, clearer, and finally free. I walked to the window and watched snow falling under the streetlights, soft and calm. Then, for the first time, I said the words I carried all year. She banned me from Christmas so she could hide her affair. I smiled, not sad, not bitter, just honest. But she forgot one thing. I whispered, gripping the keychain. The truth always shows up. And this year it came to me. The lights glowed, the snow fell, and I stepped fully into the life I finally deserved. If you love this story, hit subscribe for more powerful revenge stories.